Hi, welcome to Tech Chain. Today I'm going to share few more details about ARP types. In previous session we have seen what is ARP and how device gets the MAC address if it knows the IP address of it. And today we will see how many types of ARP are there and how it's going to work and where we are using it. Okay, let's go into the topic. And here these are the types of the ARP. First one is proxy ARP. Second, reverse ARP. We can also call it as RARP. Gracious ARP. We can call it as GARP. Inverse ARP. IARP. Okay. And proxy means someone is going to respond on behalf of it. I will let you know the difference between reverse ARP and inverse ARP. Those both are very similar and you may get confused now. Gracious ARP, it's like it's going to find the duplicate IP address. That is the main concept of Gracious ARP. Let's see the proxy ARP first. These are the types of the ARP. First one is proxy ARP. So suppose we have two networks. So you are going to find the MAC address of the IP address. So usually what we will do ARP request. Then we will get back the MAC address with the ARP reply. That is the actual thing that we have seen on the last session, right? And in this proxy ARP, instead of a particular device, what I do in your network, you have a server, either it's a router or the server. In other network, you have another server that belongs to that particular network, and instead of that, your source and destination, only the servers communicate together. Suppose if you request the MAC address of an IP address, first it reaches to your proxy server and then server checks whether it is in within your network. If it is not, then it will go beyond the other network. Okay, so in this communication happen, that checks happen in between of one server to another server. That is proxy ARP. And reverse ARP, what you do when you have any diskless computers, you can see mostly in call centers or the people who works on computer doing work from office on regular basis, or if they have assigned for systems, then they can see work serverless, I mean deskless systems. So they don't have CPU, the systems will be present and all the systems are connected to the centralized server. So as we seen in domain and work group, that concept will takes in this place. So when you restart or when you turn on your system will be aware only the MAC address of its own, but it will not be aware of its IP address. What it do? It request. So it automatically do ARP request. So in that ARP request, what it will be there? Source MAC address, destination MAC address, as well as source IP, destination IP address with the Ethernet port. But here it will be the same source and same destination, right? So it filled up with the MAC address of its own. Source MAC address and destination MAC address are same. Only we are going to find the IP address. So in that place, we will use the reverse ARP. So what it do? It will send to server. Server will check whether the entries are present in their database. Usually what they do, they manually, I mean they statically uh, add the entries in the centralized system. So when the system boots up, it automatically sends the ARP request to the centralized system database. Then it gets the IP address. Hey, what's my IP address? This is my MAC address and could you please help me my IP address? Once the system is boot up, it gets the ARP reply saying that your IP address is so and so. That is reverse ARP. Okay, and gratuitous ARP, what I do, usually it will evoke by ARP request. So there is no ARP request. It's a ARP response. What it say, your IP address is this, and if any duplication of IP address is there, then it will throw a message like duplicate IP address. So what I do, it will it will alert the network that this IP address belongs to this particular device. It should be unique and there is no duplication happens in the same network. That is the use of gratuitous ARP. And inverse ARP. Inverse ARP, what I do, it's a inverse, it's a opposite of the traditional ARP. Like in previous session what we have discussed, it's the same thing. Like we are aware of the IP address, we are not aware of the destination MAC address. We are going to send the ARP request and we'll get the MAC address by the ARP response. Here what it happened, we are aware of the destination MAC address and we are going to find the IP address of that destination device. That is the inverse ARP. Okay. Here we can see the proxy ARP. Let's take the laser point. Yeah. So let's see, we have host systems which are connected to the router where we have two different networks. So this is under 2.1 network and this is in 1.1 network. So both are different networks. Suppose I want to communicate, like if I want to ping from this PC to this PC, what it will happen, it's in the same network, it directly, that ARP request will reach to router and it checks in the ARP table, it responds back to this system and to this PC. So both are in same network, it is easier to find the MAC address of the device, right? What if they are in different network? Router knows that suppose this PC want to communicate to any one of these PC like 2.2 or 2.3. First, what it do? It sends the ARP request and then it checks in the routing table. With this network, router says, hey, this device, this 2.3 network belongs to different networks. So, but I know how to reach it. Don't worry, let's get the MAC address of your requested IP. Then it comes here, then it checks in the MAC table, it responds back. Okay, this is called proxy ARP. Instead of this device, this router will respond about ARP request. Okay, this is reverse ARP. As I told you, when you have a diskless computer, so those diskless computer don't have any RAM to store the information. So whatever you are saving the information, that will be saved in the server. Okay, and for that, what about your IP address? But device have the NIC card. This device have a NIC card where it stores the Ethernet MAC address, Ethernet address or MAC address, but it can't store the IP address. When the device is turned on, or if you connect the new device to this particular network, every device before connecting or before turn on the devices, every device information is saved in the server, like IP address, MAC address, and the port configurations, and everything will be stored in the server. If this device is turned on while booting up, what it do, it sends the ARP request to the RARP server, because this server already have all the information about this device. It sends like, hey, I know my MAC address but I am not aware what's my IP address, could you please help me on it. And what RARP, what this server do, once it receives the MAC address, it checks in the server database and it responds back to this device as your IP address is so and so. Then it starts connecting to the server and it communicates to the internet. Okay, this is the called reverse ARP. Nowadays we are not using reverse ARP. Instead we are using boot P protocol or DHCP protocol we are using instead of it. Okay, and the next one is inverse ARP. Normally this one we are using in frame relay and ATM networks. This is, as I told, it's the exact opposite of inverse of ARP. So what actually ARP, it knows the IP address and we are going to find the MAC address. What inverse ARP, I know the device MAC address, I would like to get the IP address. That is the inverse ARP. Okay, and the next one is gratuitous ARP. This one, what I do, this is like response, and it checks the response whether if any other device have the same IP address. So GARP, if whenever you connect to the network, it always sends the GARP to the network, checking like whether any other devices have the same IP address. If any other device have, then it will send you the error message like a duplicate IP address. I will let you know once we do the lab session how it saves a duplicate IP address when we are assigning the IP address on the router. Okay, and this is the detailed information of proxy ARP, gratuitous and reverse and inverse ARP. Okay, and this is the example of it, and whatever we have discussed so far, everything has been mentioned here. And GRP by default it's enabled, and proxy ARP in few routers it's disabled by default, and we are not using anymore the reverse ARP, and instead we are using DHCP protocol, and inverse ARP mostly we'll use in frame relay and ATM networks. Okay, and so this is an example how reverse ARP works. That's it, and that's all about today's session. And if you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe, and I hope you got at least basic information about the ARP types, and let's see you in the next session. Thank you so much for watching.